Okay, that brings us to The Cure. Grant, this one came in from you.
Yeah, you might have heard about The Cure. Pretty awesome band that has I was just floored by this album this year. And it was one that actually Summer and I both commented, this is awesome. This is what we feel like we wanted to hear. And when you hear a Cure album, it went to a place we felt like it was home from growing up with this band. And when a band starts to grow and age, and we had a conversation in our rock and roll book club that we've got. We read a book about Modest Mouse. We read all these different books, but we had a conversation about as bands mature and age and become more popular, how it's harder for the elitist side of me to still love the band in the same way. And bands like Jimmy Eat World, bands like Death Cab for Cutie, they fell off for me at a certain point. Bands like Modest Mouse, at the last few albums, I haven't really paid attention, even though Johnny Marr is playing in the band. All those things, why do I get turned off from them? But then there's bands like The Cure that, and bands like Radiohead and bands like U2 that just make amazing music, no matter how mature they get, how old they get. I really loved this album. The song felt, and I always think about it too. What if this song had been a band that's an unknown? Would I have loved it as much? I don't know. But the fact that Robert Smith and crew are putting this out there, it just grabbed me. And I kind of just wanted to bring it to light because in a year of so much awesome new artists, to have somebody that's a established artist, whatever that means, but somebody like The Cure, somebody that's got this kind of stature, it felt really cool. And a chance to revisit that sound, but also in the 2024 version of The Cure. I picked this song, All I Ever Am, for a few reasons, but one, Simon Gallup just takes it to where the bass line should go. I love the recording part of this song. I did put the live track from their BBC session, it'll be the video. And it was a great video because you have all these different angles of Jason Cooper on the drums and Robert Smith. And it just felt cool to see that on stage. But I'll say the recording on the album really lifts the bass line as I want it to be, as like the lead solo thing. And as a bassist, where I did all the stupid lead guitar things as a bassist, I got that from Simon. And there was a comment to the bands we were in that somebody said, "You guys sound like The Cure." And I was always super grateful that anybody would make that connection, because some of it was purposeful. Part of it is when I've got four strings and I'm playing it by myself, you do all the parts. When you bring that to a band, there's not many bands that let the bass be front and center, and this band does. And Simon takes it, and the video kind of captures that well. I've never seen The Cure live. I'd always want to, so there's a little bit of like a fantasy aspect of me watching them live. And so I'd been watching their BBC session and listening to the album, and I was like, this is just really worth noting. The lyrics too, I think, are super powerful, from only the way a Cure song can be, of where the, I guess, song title comes from, of thought that all I ever am is somehow never quite all I am now. It's even hard. I have to read it because I can't memorize it in my brain because the words could just get flip flopped, but the sequence means something of, but all I ever am is somehow never quite all I am now. And it just makes me think about that a lot in my stage of life, thinking about Robert Smith's stage of life and the band stage of life, as to what are you when you think all I am? And that reflection of almost a teenager perspective, but coming from somebody that is of Robert Smith's age, just brilliant to me. So that's The Cure. I loved it. Hope you guys dug it, and maybe check out the album if you haven't already. Sean, you want to take it up there? I think you grew up with The Cure a little bit, huh?
I did. In fact, the Disintegration album's probably one of my top 10 albums of all time. No kidding. So, yeah, The Cure is a band that I grew up with and one that I like quite a lot. Haven't been really keeping up with them, so this was a reintroduction, and was a little skeptical when I saw a Cure song land, but then it felt like their classic sound. And I guess what I mean by that is like the wall of sound, the really thick guitars, and the it's just like when if you were to go into the recording studio and see how many layered tracks are on a song like this, it maybe it's in the hundreds, I don't know. And I've always liked that about them. The richness of the sound that they create is notable, and it's different than other bands. So I really liked it. In fact, I thought the song sounded a lot like the songs from Disintegration, a little bit down tempo, introspective. And even though Robert Smith has a pretty unique persona and then also pretty unique vocal delivery, The band still pushes the music out front and lets the music be the kind of the main focus, it seems to me. So I thought the song was surprising in a lot of ways. It was a delightful surprise and just one that was a happy reintroduction into the band. I really had no idea they were putting out a new record.
I didn't either. And I'm similar to you, Sean, in that I was skeptical and then have really enjoyed this track specifically and haven't dug into the rest of the album yet, but I'm excited too. I will definitely be following that invitation. I think the thing that stands out for me is what feels like a signature Cure beat, which is where typically in rock you got like bass toms and the snare is hitting on the downbeat every time. They skip two or three of those in the cadence of the way that they're going, so that the snare isn't always driving every single downbeat. And I like that. I like that a lot about The Cure. And I've always enjoyed the way that they've been pushing the envelope in terms of genres and whatnot. Cool to see that they're still at it. These guys look like the Grateful Dead in their Touch of Grey music video, but they're not. They're actually the humans, not puppets. Anyway, man, I'm so impressed. And Robert still has the same hair after all this time. I'm, again, totally impressed. Great pick, Grant. It's fun to get this one in there. First Cure song is a modern Cure song, not what I expected to be the way it goes. And yeah, the lyrics that you named, that's a really potent, powerful concept. I like that you read it several times because I think that it's got to get in there. And yeah, it feels true. It feels right with where I'm at in my own life.
Yeah, I like that you brought up the drums too. And I didn't intend for this, but like the same kind of double snare hit that kicks it in, similar to Sprinter Brain. There must have been something in my brain saying that's energy to me. And so it brought that energy to me in the same way that Sprinter Brain did. I didn't intend to do those, but hearing Sprinter Brain in that in kind of the context going, oh yeah, I guess that's what I needed this year. But The Cure delivered it once again for me. And yeah, it feels like an old friend coming back going, man, they still got it. And the whole album, Songs of a Lost World, was really fun. And maybe a commentary about where we're at in our world these days from wise musicians. I don't know if that's such a thing, but it feels like there's worth listening to people like The Cure that have been around in the music industry and observed the world in that context for decades. So happy to share it.
Well, thanks for sharing it. This is The Cure with All I Ever Am.